Good afternoon, my good friends. Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome to my channel. Welcome. Welcome to my afternoon live stream. Good afternoon, my good friends. My name is Andre Lefevre, and I am a citizen journalist. My website is wildnews.us, wildnews.us, and I like to mouth off on things political, things cultural, things interesting. I'm an extreme libertarian, and I was looking through the news this morning, and something just stood out at me. I'm going to go through a few stories that I found interesting, but it is obvious that Democratic Party decided to adopt Nazi-style politicking. We shouldn't be surprised. Nazis were natural outgrowth of the progressive movement, and the Democratic Party in the post Civil War era were the progressives, as Dinesh D'Souza so eloquently and so beautifully explained in his movies and in his books. Nazis looked at the Democratic Party's policies in the Dixie South to create their own Nuremberg laws. Democrats use Ku Klux Klan as an enforcement arm, as a terrorist enforcement arm, and Nazis, of course, and fascists use black shirts and the brown shirts to do the same. Well, in today's America, Democrats are still using the same tactics, using Antifa, where a young black woman by the name of Candace Owen was attacked by by 10 or 20 Antifa members, all of whom were white men. Democrats did not change. Democrats remain absolutely loyal to their racist and to their progressive past, and they can't win. They simply cannot win. Let me show you this story that I have found. Just give me a second. Here we go. This is Gateway Pundit. Facebook unblocks California Republicans' ad, but Elizabeth Heng still wants an apology. A young woman by the name of Elizabeth Heng, daughter of legal immigrants from Cambodia, put out this ad. And before I read the story, this is the ad that Facebook banned. So let me play it for you. This is the ad that Facebook banned.
In Cambodia, under Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge, being young and single often meant a gruesome life and likely death. They approached my father, and in order to save his life, he said he was about to be married. They asked him, to whom? He pointed to the prettiest girl that he saw, having never spoken to her before. The soldiers approached her, and she said yes. They got married the very next day. 41 years later, they're still the happiest couple I know. Great things can come from great adversity. Fresno's home, but America's booming economy never made it to our district. Empty buildings, homeless, desperate people. Our congressional district is one of the very poorest in America. For 14 years, we've been represented in Congress by a nice man, Jim Costa, but so little has changed. Look around. This is what we can still expect to see 14 years from now, unless we plan for a better future. When we were young, my mother picked up coins off the floor at the mall to buy us a Happy Meal when we did well in school. They worked long, long hours at the local grocery store they still run. All that they made, they saved for our education.
Elizabeth is the hardest working student I have had in my 33-year teaching career, and she is the first Sunnyside High School graduate to have earned her way into Stanford University.
Studying at Stanford wasn't enough. Elizabeth was also elected student body president. Next came an MBA from Yale. She spent time on the staff of respected U.S. Congressman Ed Royce in Washington, learning why most of the time in D.C., nothing happens. Nothing. We've given Jim Costa 14 years to bring us a better life. Has it worked? In those same 14 years, Elizabeth Hang excelled in high school, graduated Stanford, was elected student body president there, got her MBA from Yale, learned what's wrong with D.C., helped her brother start a very successful business, then turned her attention toward making our lives better. Same 14 years. Which person is most likely to improve our future?
I'm 33. I have the energy and drive to bring us a better future. Not just talk about it, do it. Break the logjam and restore our water infrastructure. Reform immigration the right way. Vastly improve our education system so more of us can go to great schools. Everyone told me that I'd never go to Stanford or Yale or work for Congress. Just like they tell you that our homes and our cities will never get better. Everyone is wrong. Great things can come from great adversity. I'm Elizabeth Hang, and I approve this message.
Okay, so
In Cambodia, under Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge, being young and single often meant a gruesome life.
let me stop this.
And like later, there's still
Here we go. So this was the ad that Facebook banned. She's a Republican. Now Facebook unblocks California Republican ad. Elizabeth Hang still wants an apology. This is from Gateway Pundit. Now, Facebook was forced to do this, obviously, at the same time as they kicked Alex Jones off their platform. Let me read you a couple of paragraphs. Elizabeth was raised in Fresno, where her family instilled a strong work ethic. As a child, she worked her parents' Asian grocery store. She attended public school. You know, I don't see here any responses from Facebook, but I can tell you why they blocked it. Is because it celebrates traditional family, one man, one woman. It celebrates a personal accomplishment, and it shows what a failure the collectivist ideas of California Democrats are. Big cities in California are a sewer, the ones that are run by Democrats. And this young lady she is vibrant, beautiful, smart, accomplished. Of course, Facebook, which is located not very far from Fresno, had to ban her. I suspect the internal pressure was so much they had to. California has its own peculiar politics. There is no Republican Party, and the Democratic Party is fractured among the racial lines. There are Latino Democrats, Black Democrats, Jewish Democrats, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant Democrats, Asian Democrats, etc., Muslim Democrats. I suspect there was a lot of pressure from the Asian Democrats and the Asian community on Facebook to unblock it. They just couldn't afford it. You think about it, the percentage of Asians working in Silicon Valley is so great, and in California, blood is thicker than water. I hate to tell you that, my friends. In California, blood is thicker than water. Let's move on. Uh, Democrats did adopt the Nazi tactics of pre-World War II. But they can't win. Here's the Hill from looks like from today. Trump boasts he went 5 for 5 in today's elections. Let me read you a couple of paragraphs. Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. President Trump on Wednesday boasted that all 5 candidates he endorsed this week were elected, won their races, even as contests in Ohio and Kansas were too close to call. Where is the famous blue wave? Where is the famous blue wave? I guess if you kick people out of restaurants rather than discuss things with them, if you censor a very interesting pundit by the name of Alex Jones and try to muzzle him, it's not going to win you any converts. You're just going to piss us, the American citizens, off, and we would want your ass nowhere near the power to do things like that. Now, I found an interview. Let's see. Dems hang tough to save the GOP district special elections, but victories are elusive. I don't think the victories are elusive. I think the victories are solid.
President Trump praising John James as the future.
And this is the video I want to play for you. John James won a hard-fought primary against the Rhino. President Trump endorsed him, and he looks to me, if he wins in November against a Democratic challenger, we're looking at, I suspect, a superstar of American politics. So, fair use. This was on Fox News earlier today. So.
President Trump praising John James as the future star of the GOP after winning the nomination in Michigan's Republican Senate primary last night. The Iraq combat veteran goes on now to face incumbent Democrat Debbie Stabenow in November. John James joins us now. I'm sure it probably feels like an early morning after the big night last night. Congratulations to you. How do you feel this morning?
I feel great. I feel tremendously energized. The work is starting now. First thing, got to give glory to God for this amazing victory and the people of the state of Michigan who came out and made their voices heard. Super excited to get in this general and make sure that we hold Senator Stabenow accountable for her record.
Well, you earned the support of the president prior to this election, John, and the president is tweeting out about you, saying, quote, congratulations to a future star of the Republican Party, future Senator John James, a big and bold victory tonight in a great state of Michigan. The first of many. November can't come fast enough. You will take on incumbent Democrat Senator Debbie Stabenow in the general election. Can you win?
Absolutely. Senator Stabenow's numbers are plummeting because she's associated with resistance. Debbie Stabenow cares more about resistance than results. She cares more about obstruction than economic opportunity. And having someone like me who gets results from the battlefield to the boardroom, I'm a combat veteran who got the results of bringing all my aircraft and...
Just look at the contrast. The old, worn-out grandma, she looks like Hillary, and a vibrant young man who fought for our country. Somebody who probably can't tie her own shoes without help, to a man who actually saved life and protected us. This is a difference between the Democrats and us. A very, very stark difference. Let's see. This is the next story that I found very interesting. This is from Federalist. As you probably have heard, Senator Dianne Feinstein has her office was infiltrated by a Chinese spy. And he worked there for many, many years. And right now, the corporate control media is trying to brush all this, sweep all this under a rug. But she was a ranking member of the Intelligence Committee with the clearances to hear the most secret, the most vital secrets of our republic. and obviously pretty much everything she was privy to ended up in the Chinese hands. And China is a huge ideological, political, and military adversary of ours. She hasn't apologized for it. This article, the headline is Senator Dan Feinstein ties to China go way deeper than alleged office spy. There's a quote from her there. I sometimes say that in my last life, maybe I was Chinese, Senator Dianne Feinstein. Um, China is a hellhole, a communist hellhole, with death camps, child labor camps. Uh, Chinese government kills people for body parts and then sells them. This is not something that's publicized, and it looks like I don't know if Dianne Feinstein herself is implicated in espionage against China. There's no indication that she was, but she failed her due diligence. He failed her due diligence. She employed a spy. He's not identified anywhere. I suspect there is a story behind a story behind a story when it comes to that, especially that now it is public. I don't know why. I'm going to follow this story if I can, but China is spying on us. In a related story that I have found, and this one is from Politico.com, how Silicon Valley became a den of spies. I'm not going to read the whole story to you, but San Francisco in Northern California, Central California, is the home of American Marxists, of American progressives, and they love everything communist and they hate everything American. They were very friendly to the Soviet spies when Soviet Union was communist, and they now are very friendly to the communist China. And of course, Silicon Valley is near San Francisco in northern and central California. This is where the American high tech companies are. So it is a then it is just like a light attracts moth. Silicon Valley attracts Chinese spies. So I suspect it's as years go by, we're going to learn more and more how Silicon Valley has been infiltrated by China, and sometimes is now run by China. In case of Apple, it looks like they moved their operations to China, and they're no longer an American company. They don't defend our values or our interests. Looks like they are defending Chinese values and Chinese interests. So is Google, who is okay with Chinese censorship. Moving on. This is a story that's becoming really, really interesting. WikiLeaks says Senate panel requests Assange testimony for Russian probe. The deep state, the Democrats, have created a false narrative that Assange is a Russian agent. And the reason is because they need to cover up their own entanglements with Russians. There are a lot of indications that many high-ranking Democrats were simply bribed by Vladimir Putin's people. There are no indications that Donald Trump or anybody around him have been bribed or somehow been associated with the Russian state. The most damning thing that is blamed on Assange that made public stolen emails by John Podesta, who worked for Hillary Clinton, that exposed him as a pedophile and exposed the fact that Hillary Clinton fixed the primaries against Bernie Sanders. Russians did not hack the elections. At least I'm convinced that they haven't. Cecil Rich, a young man who was a Bernie supporter, was the one apparently who stole the documents from DNC, and he was killed some believe by MS-13 assassins hired by the Democratic operative. I mean, I don't know firsthand, but I have seen many reports that indicate that MS-13 was hired by the Democrat operatives to kill Seth Rich as a retaliation for him stealing stealing the information from DNC computers and giving it to Julian Assange. This is a story from, where is this story from? The Guardian. A Seth Rich judge dismisses lawsuit over Fox News story on DNC staffer's death. A lawsuit brought against Fox News by the parents of Democratic National Committee employee killed in 2016 has been dismissed by a judge who said that it lacks the detail necessary to proceed to trial. Well, it apparently, I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that Seth Rich's parents are scared to death and were forced in some form or way to sue Fox News and other people who are in the process of uncovering the truth what happened to Seth Rich. It's good news that the lawsuit was dismissed. Next story. This is an interesting fight that I am convinced that the liberal Nazis, the globalists who want open borders, will lose. This is from Daily Caller. Texas judge to hear arguments in case that could send DACA battle to Supreme Court. A Texas-based federal judge, Andrew Hanen, will hear arguments in a major DACA lawsuit on Wednesday. The judge, who is thought to be skeptical of DACA's legality, could issue an injunction that would temporarily halt the program. If Hanen issues an injunction, the Trump administration would face conflicting orders about whether to continue accepting DACA application, leaving it to Supreme Court, sort out the legal mess. And I have a feeling that the issue of DACA will go to Supreme Court. What's at stake is whether we keep our republic or not, because the Democrats want to pack the electoral rolls with the illegal immigrants from the countries who don't believe in freedom. They simply want to replace the population of the United States. They want to replace us with people who will blindly vote Democrat. And that's all there is about. So DACA, when you talk DACA, think about MS-13. Don't think about children. DACA only benefits MS-13 and only benefits the democratic progressive Nazis. Does not benefit good people. Next story. It looks like this one is also from Daily Caller. This is troublesome. Son of prominent imam was training children to commit school shootings, prosecutors say. And this story is, let's see where this is from. Let me read the story. I think it's out of Arizona, but I'm not 100% sure. Let me go back a little bit. The son of a prominent Brooklyn-based imam was training children in a New Mexico compound to commit school shootings, prosecutors said in court documents released Wednesday. Siraj Ibn Wahaj, 39, was training 11 children at the compound north of Taos, New Mexico, according to the Associated Press. Authorities raided the compound Friday and arrested Wahaj with two of his siblings and two other men during the search of Wahaj's son, who has been abducted from Georgia late 2017. A 3-year-old boy was found buried near the compound, but he was not identified. Wahaj's son was not among the children rescued. Residents in Amalia, New Mexico, near the Colorado border, had complained for months about the squatted conditions of the makeshift compound before Friday's raid, according to news report. Authorities recovered multiple firearms as well as AR-15. Something like this should lead every newscast. Something like that, when you have foreign nationals trading American children to commit acts of terror. Of course, you don't hear a peep from the corporate control media. Do you know why? It's because they support those people. The Muslim terrorists are the enforcement, one of the enforcement arms of the progressive Nazis of the Democratic Party, just like Black Lives Matter and just like an Antifa. Just like Ku Klux Klan was, now the jihadis are just an enforcement arm of the Democratic Party. That's why there's no outrage and there's no stories in the corporate control media. They want to use, and they use it in Europe very successfully, radical terrorists, the death cult that called Islam, the Islamic terrorists. They use them as enforcers against Western Europeans and against us, the Americans. Next story. Let's see here. Here we go. This is this would have been funny if it wasn't funny. It looks like Manafort's trial has become a joke. It's not a joke that Paul Manafort, I think he's 70 years old, is in solitary confinement without committing any crime and not even accused of a violent crime. But what's a joke is that apparently that prosecution has no case. And let's see if I can scroll this down. Prosecutors from Special Counsel Robert Mueller's office and Judge T.S. Ellis the third argued the Wednesday over the admission of evidence in the trial of former campaign chairman Paul Manafort. Tension between Judge Ellis and prosecutor Greg Andres have been common through the trial, but Wednesday morning's arguments were particularly heated. I mean, apparently they were arguing some technicalities, and it looks like Judge is not happy with the way it's being handled. This is from Gateway Pundit. Mueller's star witness Rick Gates falls apart during cross-examination by Manafort. Lawyers perjures himself. I'm not going to read you the story. Look it up on Gateway Pundit. It actually kind of it is interesting. And this is the last story. It has to do again with Manafort, with the Paul Manafort trial. Manafort lawyers accuse Rick Gates of 4 extramarital affairs, lying to special counsel. This is pure Americana. This is pure Americana. I suspect that Paul Manafort was either going to be found not guilty, but he is going to be a free man fairly soon. Just as I said at the beginning of my live stream, no matter what Nazi tactics Democrats are trying, they cannot win, because we, the American people, are not with them. And that's just as simple as that. All right, thanks for watching my live stream. I appreciate it a lot more than I can express. If you're watching the rebroadcast on the real.video or BitChute or YouTube, thumb me up or thumb me down. Please subscribe, and I appreciate any and all comments. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless you. Bye-bye.